we're live.
Give it to Sue.
Just ignore the screen.
She scans them all. And
Well,
sends
good evening,
PDFs.
everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Pennichuck Special Water Committee to order at 7:03 p.m. on the 7th of December. And I am acting chairman tonight because I guess Daniel Moriarty is out sick. So first, I'll revert to my clerk responsibilities and read the roll call. Alderman Daniel T. Moriarty, he is not present. Alderman Sean McGinnis, I am here. Alderman at Large Mark X. Cookson, he's not here, I don't believe. Alderman at Large David Tenza. Here. Alderman Mary Ann Malizagolia. Present. And finally, also in attendance and acting tonight, Brian McCarthy, President of the Board. Also in attendance, gentlemen, if you'd like to come up, we might as well just get comfortable. And if you could just state your name and everything for the general public, that'd be great. Name and title.
Okay, good evening. Are things on? Good.
Good.
My name is Thomas J. Leonard. I'm here as chairman of the board of Pennichuck Corporation and the subsidiaries.
Very good.
Larry Goodhue, CEO, Pennichuck Corporation and subsidiaries.
Donald Ware, Pennichuck Corporation Chief Operating Officer in the
Thank you,
subsidiaries
gentlemen.
as well.
I guess first order of business is there any public comment? And I don't see anyone here tonight that would be wanting to do that. First on the agenda is we have a series of communications, and if no one minds, what I'd like to do is just read through 6 of these communications real quick, and I'd like someone to make a motion to accept and place on file. There are 6. First is all 6 from Larry D. Goodhue, Chief Executive Officer of Pennichuck Corporation. Our first communication, Pennichuck Corporation Quarterly Report for the quarter ended March 31st, 2017. Second communication is also from Pennichuck, Larry Goodhue, Quarterly Report for quarter ending June 30th, 2017. Our third communication, Pennichuck Waterworks, Inc., request for approval to issue tax-exempt or taxable bonds to enter into a fixed asset line of credit with TD Bank North. Our fourth communication is a request for approval to enter into a replacement line of credit with TD Bank. Fifth, we have request for approval of loans with CoBank, ACB, and refinance of intercompany loans between Pennichuck East Utility, Inc. and Pennichuck Corporation. And then finally, we have our last communication from Larry Goodhue, Pennichuck Corporation Quarterly Report for quarter ending September 30th, 2017. There are 6 of these communications. If someone wouldn't mind making a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just interrupt, and
Certainly.
I know it's a little out of order here, but we have a clarification on one of those communications, and that's the one regarding the request for approval of loans with CoBank.
Yes, sir.
Actually, it's the fifth motion,
Yes.
and it has to do with the refinance of the intercompany loans between PEU and PennCorp. An amount was erroneously put into the document. I have corrected versions here that I would like to provide so that when the vote is actually taken and it's read back to the Board of Aldermen, is it with the correct dollar amount?
Well, that's fine.
included.
Wonderful. Do you have copies that
I do.
we could spread around right now? That's great. And
So which one is it?
so I would also echo you that this would also be included in the 6 items that we're accepting and placing on file. Alderman Malizagolia?
I would move to accept and place all communication read on file with the revised letter for the request for approvals of loans with CoBank, ACB,
Revised letter.
with that being included to replace what was originally sent to us.
Very good. Are there any comments or questions regarding these communications? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that is been taken care of. Next item on the agenda would be unfinished business. There is none. And then we have new business resolutions. There are 2 or 3 tonight. And allow me to read the first one. Resolution 17-155, authorizing Pennichuck Corporation and Pennichuck East Utility, Inc. to enter into a long-term and fixed asset line of credit with CoBank and to refinance intercompany loans. Any motion that somebody would like to make?
I would move to accept and recommend final passage.
Final passage, okay,
Sorry.
great. I don't know if one of you gentlemen would like to open by just addressing this, since we do have a correction.
Sure. So that motion was about the line of credit for PEU with CoBank as well as the intercompany loans, correct?
Yeah, refinancing the intercompany loans.
Yes. Refinancing the intercompany loans, what was included in that amount was 2 of 3 intercompany loans that are actually existing for PEU with Penn Corp. That pre-existed actually the city's acquisition of the corporation. The monies for these loans exchanged hands between the 2 corporations more than 10 years ago. The refinance of these is to extend the term and adjust the interest rate on these loans for another 30 years going forward. This is actually part of and in support of the current rate case filing that we have for Pennichuck East Utilities before the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission, and is related to the rates that we are seeking to recover from those customers. And it actually creates a situation which is more beneficial for the customers as it stretches that obligation over a longer period of time for repayment. The interest rate is slightly higher, but the repayment term is much longer, and so it's all related to that. As far as the $3 million line of credit with CoBank, that is also tied to that rate case filing that we've done for Pennichuck East Utility, in that we're requesting a modified rate methodology for PEU that was recently approved for Pennichuck Waterworks, and it has to do with a line of credit being established for annual draws during a year to provide for capital projects to be completed within a year as our normal run rate, and then annually paid off and termed out with long-term debt, at which time we would come before this committee to get approval for that long-term debt in order to repay that line, and go forward. And then that would be used on an annual basis in that same methodology.
Very good. Generally better rates and, well, not rates, but better terms overall.
Yes, and it actually is supportive of the overall structure of the company under the ownership with the city, where all of our debt, all of our capital is funded by debt.
Yes.
And it's all towards making sure that, the lowest possible rates can be provided while continuing to replace infrastructure.
Very good. Any other comments from our Pennichuck gentlemen or Alderman? Questions, comments?
No, nothing, thank you.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I see no reason why we shouldn't just move to a vote right now.
To the extent it's not necessary that you need a second for the motion, Alderman Lizzie
No, I
Goldsmith.
don't think so, David,
Okay.
no.
No problem.
So,
Require seconds.
Perfect.
we have a motion for final passage of R 17-155. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None. And that passes. Okay, another piece of new business is our second resolution, R 17-156, approving the proposal of Pennichuck Corporation to enter into a replacement line of credit with TD Bank. Marianne, Melissa Govey?
Yes, I would move to recommend final passage.
The Alderman recommends final passage. Are there any questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Now, I don't know if there's any comments, questions, or if the staff of Pennichuck would like to elaborate. Please please feel free.
Sure,
It's pretty
and
straightforward.
This is really tied to the Pennichuck Waterworks rate case that was recently completed. Our current line of credit is a $10 million line of credit, actually recently expired and under extension pending this movement to this new line of credit. Our existing line of credit was a $10 million line of credit that provided for both working capital and QUIP financing for all of the entities within the consolidated group on an ongoing basis. Under the new rate structure, we're looking at changing this line from a $10 million line of credit that does that to just one for $4 million for just working capital purposes for the parent and the consolidated group, and then having fixed asset line of credits at the individual regulated utility levels, the $3 million for CoBank. When we'll be talking in a minute about a $10 million line at PWW, again for that annual funding of QUIP projects to be annually termed out into long-term debt. The new line also comes with a change in the covenant structure. So we were moving to a covenant structure that is now directly aligned with the covenants that are in place for our bonded debt for PWW. And this is tied again to the rate methodology. So we're bringing everything into sync relative to how we do business, how we earn revenues, how we're able to provide income in support of our financing and our covenant compliance. So it's all together.
Sounds much more efficient.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other comments?
The only comment I would make is going back to the very beginning, when the city bought the company, it was really to control the assets and to keep rates as low as possible based upon a structure that relied on debt as opposed to equity. We have accomplished that, new ownership, obviously. This past year, Larry and Don and the rest of the management team at Pennichuck accomplished a rate structure. I'm going to call it a reorganization. In effect, they redid the rate structure for Pennichuck Waterworks, all consistent with those goals. So all of this financing is to support and be consistent with the purposes of the initial purchase and the rate structure changes that accomplish that. So we're very happy with the way things are going, and these are all to support and continue to support those goals.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. I'm sure we've all read this material. Are there any other comments or questions from the alderman? Nothing else? Well, I don't see no reason why we shouldn't go for a vote. In the matter for final passage, R17-156, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. And that passes. And then, finally, we have a final piece of new business, a resolution R17-157, authorizing Pennichuck Corporation and Pennichuck Waterworks, Inc. to issue bonds and enter into a fixed asset line of credit with TD Bank, N.A. That's a fixed line. Fixed line. Anne Marie, Melissa
yes.
Golia?
I would move for final passage of R17-157.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, yes, yes, Alderman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have another meeting upstairs that I need to be at for an item on the planning board agenda, so I am going to excuse myself. Thank you.
Is your vote necessary for a quorum? No.
Oh, it's not, I thought you would. Okay.
But I think we're ready to.
This will be quick, I promise.
Real quick
Again, I'm
comments
going to
on
ask the staff if they have anything to add or elaborate on this particular resolution.
The $32.5 million worth of bonds will either be issued as tax exempt or taxables, really depending on what happens down at the U.S. Congress relative to tax legislation and how that comes up. It's for $30 million worth of bonds to be issued for capital projects for 17, 18, 19, and possibly into 20, depending on how that money gets spent,
Yeah.
and up to $2.5 million for cost of issuance. This is very much the routine. About every 3 years, we're going to come in and we're going to look at 3 years worth of bonding for the $10 million, in essence, of annual run rate of capital investments for PWW. And then the fixed asset line of credit at $10 million is, as I explained a few minutes ago, is for the interim financing during a year to build those projects that will then annually be repaid with those bonds being issued on or about March 1st of every year.
March 1st. Very good. I mean, that's pretty clear. There's no other comments from staff. The aldermen have anything they want to add? Well, no reason why we shouldn't move to a vote then in this, with respect to Resolution 17-157. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And that passes. So the remainder of the agenda is a period of time for public comment. I don't think we have anyone here that wants to do that. Are there any individual remarks that the alderman would like to make? None? We're not dealing with a non-public session. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Motion is by the alderman to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the meeting is adjourned at 7:19. Let me just shut everything off.
Thank you.